LAXposed presents the exclusive and interview with Amy Chavez, the author of Running the Shikoku Pilgrimage in Japan.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Amy Chavez. She is a columnist for the Japan Times and a blogger for the Huffington Post. And we are delighted to have her here today as she's in the Koyasan Temple?
Koyasan Temple.
Koyasan Temple here in Los Angeles, California. And she's about to present today about her pilgrimage, or Shikoku Pilgrimage.
That's right.
In Japan. And so, first and foremost, I gotta ask, what takes a white American woman to Japan for a pilgrimage? How does that happen?
Well, I originally went to Japan to teach at university. So it was in my 4th year in Japan that I decided to do this pilgrimage. It's a Buddhist pilgrimage, although you don't have to be Buddhist to do it. And it's 900 miles long, and you walk from temple to temple until you have completed a route of 88 temples.
Wow, so you just said 900 miles long.
It's the distance from San Diego to Oregon.
Wow, so San Diego, California to the state of Oregon.
Right.
And you ran.
Actually, I did run it. Some people walk it, and it takes about 6 weeks to walk. And these days, most people take a car or a bus, actually. So very few people walk it, and I don't think anyone's run it before. But I did run it.
I'm still trying to put this in my head because you're a beautiful white American woman, and you go to Japan, and you look for this, I guess, the spiritual awakening. Is that right?
Well, that's what ended up happening. I'm not sure that that was what I was looking for. What happened is in my 4th year of teaching university, I was let go from my job.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And well, it was very sudden, and I really loved my job, and I put so much of myself into it. It was a shock, to tell you the truth. I didn't see it coming at all. And what it amounted to what I didn't realize at the time was that it was a case of discrimination. Which is something I came to understand later. I was not interested in the spiritual side of the pilgrimage. I thought it would be fun to do, and I thought physically that it would be great and enjoyable, kind of like hiking, lots of good scenery. So it seemed natural to me to try to do something like running it, and I've always been a runner, and I've always loved running. So that's kind of what pulled me into it in the beginning.
Wow, so originally you saw it almost like as a one big physical exercise, almost like you're running a marathon and you're just gonna, I guess, build up those quadriceps.
Exactly, something like that.
But then something else happens.
Well, I started off on the pilgrimage, and you have to keep in mind that I had a very good mentor, which was the Buddhist priest on my island. So he helped me along the way. He gave me all the tools I would need to do it in the first place. There's a lot of, I call them the cosmic tools. And it's a vest, a white vest, which represents, on the pilgrimage, it represents death. And you're supposed to be as if you're crossing into another world when you enter the pilgrimage. So you go from a known world into an unknown world. And there were other things. I had to have some prayer beads, and I had a religious bag to carry these things in. I had mantras and sutras, and the idea of the pilgrimage is that each time you visit a temple, then you say a mantra, and you do some prayers and light some incense and a candle, and then you go on to the next temple. So the whole ritual takes about 30 minutes at each temple.
Wow.
Which I was looking forward to a break by the time I got there, so that wasn't a problem at all.
You're obviously not just running it the whole way through. You're stopping, right. You're finding shelter, housing, and so how long does it end up taking?
The whole thing took 31 days. So that's 31 days of running. The whole thing took me about 6 weeks because I had to take 2 days off a week just for rest and recovery for the body.
So what kept you going?
Well, one thing that happened which I hadn't planned on was that I started attracting media attention. So I had this TV crew following me around. And so, and then I was writing columns for the Japan Times as well. So after a while, I wasn't really doing it for myself as much as the expectations I had to complete it.
Earlier you said you went into this pilgrimage basically for the exercise, for the run, for the thrill of it. But what happened in terms of your spiritual self? Did you have an awakening?
Yeah, I did. It was gradual. As I started learning the concepts of the pilgrimage and really learning much deeper the Japanese culture, I could come to appreciate things that I had never appreciated before, as well as being introduced to concepts that I had never thought of before, such as enlightenment, and can animals reach enlightenment? And I think about that, that's pretty deep. Can animals reach enlightenment? Well, maybe they can. And then you start thinking about this, and I mean, it's just a whole different way of thinking of things. And since I do come from America, we don't really tread into very many territories that are not nice and comfortable and things that we're familiar with. And I mean, I suppose that's the one thing about America, is very ethnocentric. And when we have problems, we don't tend to look and see how other countries deal with the same problem, or we don't really look to learn from other places.
Or we think they're wrong and we're right.
Well, we're the best, right? So, so I think being able to cross over that line and to be able to open up and consider other ways that might not seem so even logical on the outside, but once you get into them and realize why things are that way or people think that way, you can definitely gain an appreciation.
So you went into this pilgrimage very sad, feeling very hopeless, depressed. How did you feel when you completed it?
By the time I completed it, I was so glad I'd been let go from my job. I thought it was the best thing that had ever happened to me. And I have retained that lifestyle since. I have never gotten another full-time job. And I decided that I could live actually on my writing income, which I never thought I would be able to. I just decided that I could live a simpler life as long as it was happier. And I didn't, I don't really need all those things I thought I needed. And I just enjoy life a lot more now.
My goodness, that is very beautiful, because you turned such a negative scenario that happened in your life, and you somehow turned it around. Do you think, as an individual, as a human being, that you're maybe in the happiest state you've ever been in your life, now that you've ran this pilgrimage?
Yeah, you've said it right there. Yep, it was a life-changing experience, absolutely. And I think I have proven that it has been, because it changed my life at the time, and I'm still leading that life that it changed to. So I think that means that I'm pretty happy with it.
Do you think it would have been any different if you were to have walked the pilgrimage or drove the pilgrimage?
See, now that I can't tell you. I really learned that by pushing my limits, that's the key. It's when you leave your comfortable world that you start to understand how other people feel in other worlds. And it's by going through this that we reach a certain thing out there. It's like the jet stream, It's out there, but if the plane doesn't fly into the jet stream, it'll never catch on to that advantage that it has. So to me, there's all this spirituality out there, and if we're not looking for it, of course we won't find it. But if we can open our minds a bit and look for it, and then when we see it, recognize it, and just get into that stream and take advantage of it, then I think, it's a pretty good life.